Welcome to the School of Soul. We're doing a video series on the coronavirus. And what we'll be talking about today is how the soul impacts our health, whether we know about it or not. And I'm here with my colleagues,
Kathy McCommon,
Deborah Shalette Wilson,
and I'm Ann Riddels. So ladies, the coronavirus is a soul communication.
Absolutely. Yes. It sure is. In fact, think about it. Where does the coronavirus seem to have its biggest effect? In the lungs. And what are some of the emotions that the lungs hold that are not real, that can cause us to be not feel too well? Sorrow and grief. We talked about that the last time.
And it makes sense because the lungs are moist. Mm-hmm. And when we're sad, we cry.
That's right. That's right. So let's see, what are some of the things that the lungs require? Well, for one thing, the lungs require a lot of water. They have to stay hydrated. So think about how fluid are you in your life? Are you rigid? You know, you're just unbending. Or do you have a lot of fluidity? And you can think about some of our previous videos in the younger stages of soul development, you know, mineral stage, vegetable stage. Yeah, rigid, you don't want to move. So maybe your soul is, someone came down with coronavirus and their lungs became, hard. I think that's one of the symptoms of it. Then perhaps your soul is communicating to you a stage of soul development that is the younger stage. Let's see, what else? Another thing to do with the soul or the lungs is that, of course, it holds the feelings of sorrow and grief. So what part of yourself is your soul communicating to you about sorrow and grief?
And that's a good point, because so often we're living in just a part of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay, I'm happy. Yeah, but there's another part that's still grieving. Mom, dad, wrong career decision, mm-hmm. big mistake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a thing called the silent cry. And that's when the emotions are so buried, yet they're so wanting to come forth that someone may just have tears just running down their face. It might be just totally strong, just subtle, but the tears are running down the sides of your face, and that's what's called a silent cry. So, what's your lungs crying for you to recognize in your own soul development?
And the lungs also bring in air. Mm-hmm. And release carbon dioxide. We need to look at what we're bringing in. Uh-huh. Is it healthy for us? What are we releasing? Mm-hmm. Are we getting rid of the toxic mm-hmm. things in our lives?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are we releasing things? Or are we just holding on? Are we holding on to the past? Or are we holding on to grievances that we have, from other people? Unforgivingness. Mm-hmm. Even unforgiving of ourselves for some of the mistakes maybe that we've made. Things that we regret. I like to think of the term of staying well grieved. Not that I can grieve anything in advance, but as I experience life and grieving comes up, to express and to feel is to not hold it back. Like I was taught when I was a kid, big girls don't cry,
mm-hmm. Boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry. I mean, we're taught to suppress our emotions, including grief and sadness. It's put on a happy face, Let me see that smile.
And those feelings that are unexpressed always mm-hmm. get lodged in the body somewhere or taken out on other people. Mm-hmm. And so it's so important to do that daily.
Yeah. Well, I know that through my own trauma in my childhood, of course, unrecognized trauma, unacknowledged trauma, one of the results of that was an inability to cry. And I didn't even realize, I was in my late 40s after I'd already been diagnosed with cancer. Cancer can be a blessing. It can, be another soul communication. But I remember I took a course, and in this course, it was to release these emotions. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And up until that point, I didn't even realize that I had not cried in years. It wasn't even in my awareness. I thought that I was being a strong little soldier. And I didn't, crying just wasn't necessary. But I realized that in that moment, crying the tears that had been pent up for all those many years was one of my biggest soul healings. And just the vulnerability that it brought um, to me, and having being around people who could provide a space of safety for me to cry. Because when I was young, that was just not something we were allowed to do. And we were to suck it up, buttercup. The little Southern saying there.
And I'm remembering too, when I first went on a health food diet, I was 23 years old. It was recommended by a naturopathic doctor. I cried for 3 days. And that again shows the interconnection of supporting the physical body with a good diet, then supported the emotional body, which allowed the tears to come.
Well, now that's interesting. You're talking about diet. If you'll notice that a lot of the people that are more susceptible to the virus, there are different people, different levels that are susceptible, but one of them are people who have not paid attention to their diets. And so all of a sudden they're finding that diet does mean something, and that diet is important, and lifestyle choices are important. Exercising, proper sleep, just taking care of, meditation. People who have never meditated in their lives are now seeking out the benefits of meditation, knowing that it calms the body down and that it helps to do introspection, to look inside and see what's going on. So there's a lot of blessings that the coronavirus has brought to society if we can just embrace them without fear and know that all of it is sent for the benefit of humanity's global consciousness, because we have been a very ill global society.
And I would add a healthy fear, in that the fear often gets us to make some healthy changes, like meditating or a good diet. And I would add too that the diet needs not to be just a physical healthy diet, but an emotionally healthy diet, a mentally healthy diet.
Yeah, because our thoughts, affect our emotions, and that affects our heart, which then affects our brain and our gut. So they're all intertwined. And from the heart math training that I've had, it's really helped me to realize how important it is to connect to my emotions and to feel them, whatever they are. They're not positive or negative. They just are energy. They're an energy that's reflective of something happening in my life that I need to pay attention to. And so my emotions are guides to me in determining where I'm at in my own growth and development, and pointing to the direction of what do I need to, I guess you could say, face up to. What do I need to embrace? And is there things that I haven't grieved and sorrow that I still have within me that is important to express and integrate that into the emotions in my life, so that, that frees me from some of the toxins that I may be carrying in the inflammation.
Inflammation, right?
Yeah.
Like a sore throat is common with the coronavirus affliction, and soreness, the very word, I'm sore at you, is anger. So how are we holding back our voices that we're angry? What are we saying that isn't true to our nature and it's making us angry?
What are we tolerating in our lives that is causing systemic inflammation in our bodies, that's being manifested through the virus, that's making us angry, that we're not talking about?
Whenever I hear the word inflammation, I think of anger that's been held inward, and it's causing problems.
Right. And it keeps us from connecting to our voice, because as we connect to our voice, and we're able to express some of that which has been held back.
Yeah. Have you ever woke up and you've lost your voice? Oh,
Mhm.
a voice. Oh, God. Well, did you ever think about looking in your life and seeing where in your life that you have recently or over a period of time and it's finally come to a head that you've not been speaking your heart, your needs, um, your truth?
And that's just it. If people just understood that every physical symptom is a soul communication. And when we hear it and do what our souls are being asking of us, then we don't need the communication anymore.
The symptom goes away a lot of times.
Or it brings us into a situation where we need to meet this doctor, we need to undergo this particular treatment.
We need to change our diet. We need to add a supplement.
Path.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's communicating the actions that we need to take,
Mhm.
new actions, not the same old action over and over and over. But when we keep having the same thing happening over and over, to me, that's a communication that, time to make a different action, take a different action, because this one's not working, obviously.
Well, when we were talking about this particular video today, and we were talking about, how are the symptoms manifesting in the world to soul communicate with us, beliefs came up. So some of you are familiar with our work, our belief work. We each have our own individual way of helping people with beliefs and getting clarity and transforming those. And so beliefs are things that we said during times of trauma, usually. And so what kind of beliefs do the lungs hold? That's what I wanted to do, because that's, I'm in a theta practitioner. So we have a lot of statements on beliefs according to the body systems. So I'm going to give you a couple of the beliefs that are in the lungs. And look and see if any of these ring true with you. If so, write them down. And it could be a different belief. And remember, beliefs are neither right or wrong. They're just beliefs. They're beliefs that you create, often subconsciously, mostly subconsciously. And so don't make yourself wrong for any beliefs that you have. They're just beliefs. So one of the beliefs is, I am a victim. So are there areas of your life that you're playing the role of a victim, or you feel like you're a victim, or you feel like somebody's victimized you?
We've all been victimized, by the way, so it's a common thing to get lodged in there.
Yeah.
It's called victim consciousness. I can't cry because I will be weak. And we talked about that. Little girls don't cry, men don't cry. I live in regret. So, are there areas of your life that you have regret? I don't know that you can be a human being without having areas of regret. But the thing is, have you made yourself wrong for having the feelings of regret?
For example, one of the things we commonly regret is believing that big girls don't cry. Or being a man is not expressing feelings, when being a man is being all that you are and being okay with every aspect of you, the sad part, the vulnerable parts. Mm-hmm. That's manhood.
Yeah, true manhood. Another one was, I cannot forgive. Sometimes I think we find it easier to forgive others than we have the ability, or we find it more difficult to forgive ourselves, because we all make mistakes. We all do things that we wish we hadn't done. But have you had that soul communication where you have gone in and forgiven yourself and said, I'm human. I made a mistake. I have no joy. So lungs carry joy. That is the main beneficial emotion that lungs carry. So if your lungs are infected or you're having trouble breathing, what's your level of joy in your life? Where is your joy? What's stealing your joy? Another one is, I must grieve all the time. Now, I think this comes up when you have maybe a loved one that's suffering with maybe an illness, and perhaps you're the caregiver and you're grieving for them. Sometimes we get where we just think we have an obligation to grieve. So, is there areas of your life that you feel like you just are obligated to grieve
Or
all the time?
self-punishment too can be a
Mm.
part of illness,
Mhm.
in that I find like people with coronavirus often have muscular aches, and pain anywhere in the physical body can be a manifestation of pain in the psychological body.
Mm.
And we often want to keep ourselves in pain, unconsciously, of course, when we're in pain and we feel guilty, we have regrets. Why did I do that? And we unconsciously punish ourselves, sometimes for years.
Mhm. Yes, I'm sure all of you have either it's happened in your own life, or you've had a friend or a family member, their lives, when they get to going good, then all of a sudden they do something that sabotages their life. And that's a form of self punishment. I have to live in sorrow. And this is a big one. I have to carry the weight of the world. And now Am's talking about pain in the body. So you could have lung problems, and then you can have shoulder problems, upper back problems. And that, where are you trying to carry the whole weight of the world in your life?
What are you shouldering when you have
What are you
shoulder
shouldering?
problems?
Yeah. So write down some of these beliefs that are showing up in your life. They can be some that we've listed here, or some new ones. You can always reach out to us if you think, well, I think I'd like to experience what it's like to transform these beliefs into more powerful, empowering beliefs. And I think I'd like to have a soul communication. We're your girls.
Mhm.
So we'd love for you to reach out to us.
Yeah, because beliefs don't have to be a life sentence.
Yeah.
You can transform them into more empowering beliefs and change the course of your life. That's a fun thing to do.
Absolutely.
So there's no reason to be afraid of symptoms, getting a coronavirus infection or anything else, because it's a soul communication, and you can always listen to it and do what your soul is asking you to do.
Embrace the communication.
So thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next video, hopefully, where we'll be talking about how to feed that soul. What is it asking for?
Yeah.
Let's see.